University of Chicago, 2072. Anthony Winston is a historian researching the geopolitics of the tumultuous first half of the 21st century. He summons the hologram of his smarter-than-Musk phone and calls his colleague, Jeff Hemmings, an expert in international relations.
Jeff, you've got to hear this. I mean, really, you're not ready. Okay, so I'm combing through the archives. You know, my version of fun on a Friday night. Early 21st century stuff. That glorious era, pre-chat GPT, where everyone thought GPS and quinoa would save humanity. Anyway, I stumble across this State Department memo from 2012. Yeah, that State Department, the one that after taking down Muammar Gaddafi, had its inbox hacked by teenagers in sweatpants. You may also remember that takedown, followed by Hillary's famous quote, "We came, we saw, he died." It was, if I'm getting my reference right, an allusion to Julius. Caesar, I think, unless it was Julius Marx, aka Groucho. Probably more appropriate when you think about it. And here's the sentence. Are you sitting down? You should sit down. Now, try to take this in. I'm quoting verbatim. But other than the laudable purpose of saving Libyan civilians from likely attacks by Gaddafi's regime, the Libyan operation had no long-lasting consequences for the region. Jeff, I'm serious. Someone type this. Someone type this with a straight face. Like, I'm picturing a very earnest intern saying, "Madam Secretary, I've run a spell check and you're good to go." And Hillary just nodding, sipping her Diet Coke and saying, "Yep, send that baby out." No consequences, Jeff, no consequences. Now, I know this is an academic office and we're all about nuance, but let's briefly summarize what no consequences look like, shall we? Number one, Libya descends into total anarchy. I mean, even the concept of government evaporates, like poof, gone. You've got militia warlords running around in Toyotas they bought off eBay. Number two, remember that whole European refugee crisis that guaranteed the rise of neo-Nazi parties across Europe? Yeah. Turns out when you blow up the thin membrane holding back North Africa, people don't stick around for the rebuilding phase, they head north. And Italy, oh Italy, suddenly it's Bunga Bunga, the refugee edition. Number three, ISIS, Jeff. You remember ISIS, right? The group that made Al-Qaeda look like a moderately angry book club? Yeah, well, Libya became their weekend getaway spot. It was like a timeshare for jihadists. You've done Afghanistan, you've tried Iraq, come on down to Libya, sun, sand, and, yeah, slave auctions. Just like the good old days in the land of cotton. Those, by the way, were the same ones we later groomed to oust Bashar Assad and take over Syria in 2024. You remember that? When we turned a sovereign nation into a sandbox and a free-for-all for a diversity of fundamentalist groups, adjacent armies, and a permanently expanding buffer zone for the century's greediest terrorist state, just to the southwest. And here's my favorite part, Jeff. The U.S. State Department itself called Libya a failed state, about 4 years after this memo, a failed state. Now, I'm just a humble historian here in 2072, but I'm imagining some poor soul 50 years ago reading this line and going, well, surely nothing bad will come of this. Like, Jeff, can you picture them? Ah, yes, we saved a few civilians and called it a day. Let's all head to Applebee's. I mean, no long-lasting consequences, Jeff? That's like saying, other than the iceberg incident, the Titanic's voyage was quite uneventful. Or, other than the meteor, the dinosaurs had a perfectly normal Tuesday. But you know what really gets me? The optimism. The unshakable optimism it takes to declare something like that. It's almost admirable. Like, sure, we toppled a regime, unleashed 1,000 armed factions, and turned a nation into a Mad Max sequel, but let's not be pessimists, folks. No long-lasting consequences. Jeff, this sentence should be in a museum, etched on a plaque, underneath it just right, the United States 21st century. Anyway, you want to grab lunch? I think the Replicator's doing something traditional called authentic Italian flatbread. I hear Berlusconi taught it everything it knows.
Join the conversation at Fair Observer and subscribe to our YouTube channel.